Before I start, I have to give you all a warning, because I was told that I'm very intimidating when I get up in front of people. And this is sort of your disclaimer. If you get scared easily, if loud noises, cause anxiety, this is your warning. I'm probably going to do some of those things. Get really loud, get very animated. So there you go. If it becomes troublesome, Brian's right out there. He can help you out if you want to sit there with him. I'm told my voice isn't that loud out there. But I do this because I'm passionate about the word that I'm going to bring to you today. Okay? But before I do that, even, I have to draw a separation. Because I did this lesson actually with the youth a couple of weeks ago, and it worked out really well, and they really liked it. But I have to sort of put you in the mindset of the youth in order for it to work. Okay? When I work with the youth, I have to draw a separation immediately, because kids, unfortunately, don't get a choice as to how much of the outside world they get exposed to. When we drop them off at school, they're smack dab in the middle of it, and as a teacher, you have to keep that in mind. So the separation I want to draw for you today is the separation between the secular world, which is the world outside those doors, the world outside your homes, where other people think they're in control, where humanity thinks it's in control. Whereas inside these walls, inside our hearts, God is in control. Okay? Now that I've drawn that separation, I also need to redefine two terms that fall in both worlds. Okay? The first is very simple. The term is intimacy. Now, I'm redefining intimacy instead of going into the actual word that I should be using, because I really suck at Greek translation. The word that Pastor Kathy suggested I use, and I like the word, I just can't pronounce it all the time, is koinonia. She suggested I use that. It means what intimacy should in the secular world. It means a close, personal friendship or relationship. I assume everyone has that best friend, that it doesn't matter what happens, if something bad happens or something good happens, they're the first person on speed dial. That's a koinonia relationship. It is absolute closeness with someone else or another individual. Okay, so remember, intimacy is my cheat word for koinonia. That's what I'm going to use instead of that, because if I say it too often, I'm going to get weirded out. So, the second term that I need to define for you is very simple. I'm sure you've all heard it before. The second term is love. Now, if you were to look up on the internet, dictionary.com, the definition of love, you would get 28 answers, 28 uses for the word love, in all sorts of different ways. There's like 9 of them for a noun, there's like 6 of them for a verb, and all sorts of funky stuff. You get it with a verb with a subject, a verb without a subject, an adjective, an adverb. It's weird how many places we can use this word love. Okay, but the reason I'm redefining this for you is because for every use of the word love, for every different category, for every noun, for every verb, there's a use for the word love that means we've got 4th graders in here? There's a use for the word love that means a physical relationship. Yes. So, I need to redefine love in your heads to be a G-rated term at all times in order for this to work. And trust me, it's going to work. Because if the kids can get it, I know that each and every one of you can get it. Alright, so now that I've drawn the separation and I've defined these two terms, we can move on to the point, which is 1 John. This is a fantastic passage. This is one of my favorite passages. I know Tori read it for you here this morning, so I'm not going to reread it. I'm just going to highlight the most important words in this passage. Of course, I have to find it. 8, verse 8. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is your real redefinition. Consider for a second every point in your history. Where have you found love that is not God? If you can, I can disprove it. I guarantee it. Because that's what the secular world tries to prove every day. Every day we step outside those doors, you see advertising. Glorious, wonderful advertising that's slowly eating minutes out of our favorite TV shows. And it's all trying to sell you love without God. This is what changes things. Now, I'm not just going to leave you with this. Let's take a look at the definition of love as described by the Bible. 1 Corinthians, another favorite of mine. Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's not proud, it's not rude, it's not self-seeking, it isn't easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong, it does not delight in evil but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, trusts, hopes, always preserves. Can any of those not describe God? Absolutely not. All of those describe God. So now that we understand that God is love, sorry, I have to sort of look up the cheat sheet now. This was always the tough thing, trying to draw these all the points in my head together. So, now that we've established that God is love, let's take a look back at what Jesus did and what Jesus talked about all the time. If you look closely, every single parable that Jesus told was about love. Every single one of them. The prodigal son, the good Samaritan, the light in the bushel. It's all about love. Why? Because God is love. Again, try and think about that in your head. Where in your life have you found love, real love, that God hasn't been there also? Now, I am going to circle back to this term, but I am going to jump right now into an example as to how we can tie this into explaining God to other people, because that is one of our great commissions, is it not? We're supposed to share God with everyone that we know, with everyone that we don't know. So in order to share God with everyone that we know, we have to share love. And as a matter of fact, one of the best ways that I've actually heard it described as a way that you can explain God to other people. Because when we talk about kids, when we take the kids out of here and put them in junior church, what do we tell them God is? We tell them that God is everything. And that's kind of a broad spectrum term. When do we not describe to young children that God isn't everything? When do we narrow it down and go, hey, if you experience that, you experience God? This is how we explain it to other people. And the way I heard it best, actually, which is ironic enough, it came from a TV show that was canceled a year or so back, called Eli Stone. Eli is a lawyer who has an inoperable brain aneurysm in his head. And this inoperable brain aneurysm is causing him to have visions. And he goes to an acupuncturist that his father knew. And this acupuncturist explains to him that whenever something happens in the secular world, there are two definitions. There's the secular definition, the separation that I told you about, love without God. And there's the religious explanation. There's the divine explanation. In this, you're about to hear one of the best descriptions one of the best ways that we can communicate God to other people that I've ever heard before. You would run that for me, please?
So what would your divine explanation for all of this be?
Almost all religions believe that there are those who are sent to us to help us find our way. Some people call them prophets.
A prophet. You think I'm a prophet? Like Moses.
God told Moses he'd send a prophet to every generation. Why not a lawyer? High-profile attorney handling cases that got a lot of notoriety that the world would read about.
The difference between those guys and me is I don't believe in God.
Sure you do. You believe in right and wrong. You believe in justice and fairness. And you believe in love. All those things, they're God, Eli. And that's God too.
'Cause I gotta have faith.